All right. So first of all, welcome to third podcast in the series of five podcasts that is part of our project, European Future Green and Sustainable, co-funded by European Union. It's a Erasmus Plus European Youth Together project, K3 project. And yes, my name is Mladen. As you can read from the screen, I'm from Serbia. And I will just shortly introduce the project activities that we implemented so far. So basically, it's a 2 years project. We are already, let's say, on 60% of a timeline, but we implemented most of the activities, three training courses in France, North Macedonia, and Serbia. As well, we did kickoff meeting in France, meter meeting in Poland, and study visit in Bulgaria. And this is the next step. And yeah, I would like to, I mean, in meantime, I will, while Eva is having presentation, I will send you some materials in the chat, website link, and other social media links. Also, we will record this presentation, this webinar, so later on you can share it with your friends, colleagues, and you can review it by yourself. We'll also have a question and answer session, and you can write questions in the chat. So, Eva, thank you very much, and thank you all the guys for your time. Eva, the floor is yours. I wish you a successful presentation.
Thank you, Mladen. And it's so beautiful to see a few people here who decided to devote their Wednesday evening to hear about mindfulness, green mindfulness, and maybe get inspired. I wanted to thank you for being here. Attention and time nowadays is the most valuable currency. So really, thank you. And I know that not everyone knows me, so just shortly about myself. My name is Yeva, and I'm originally Lithuanian, living in Sweden. Why I'm talking about EU projects and mindfulness, because I'm a founder of two Swedish nonprofit organizations. One is called Positive Youth, another is called Wellbeing Lab. And as the name suggests, we really concentrate on promoting well-being and mindfulness as a core of any initiative, of any project. And besides of that, my passion and also another hat that I'm wearing is a mindfulness, meditation, and yoga instructor. Uh, with these humble 11 years of experience, I have collected a few know-hows, some practices that I'm happy and grateful to be able to share with the community. So I will be, let me actually start the presentation. I will be talking today about a few things. So I will introduce what is this mindfulness and green mindfulness from my perspective, a little bit about our journey as organization and what practices we use in our projects. And lastly, the name of the webinar suggests, we will be talking about the benefits of mindfulness into green sustainability projects. And at the end, there will be a little bit space for questions and answers. As this practical aspect of mindfulness is my passion, and it's not about talking, but about actually practicing, I would invite us to close our eyes for a few minutes, if you are okay with that. I don't see the faces and the screens of the participants now. Yet, if you feel comfortable, I would really invite to close your eyes for these few minutes and use our flesh and the tool that we always have, our breath, to really ground in this webinar, to maybe close the tabs not only on the laptop, but close the tabs in the head so that you could digest and really get this information that we are sharing. And we will start by sitting deeply into our chair, actually rooting with both sit bones. uncrossing the legs and uncrossing the arms, if possible. You can actually even lift yourself a little bit and root in the chair so that you bring the attention to this moment. And just putting your hand on your chest, another hand, the palm on your stomach, closing your eyes, and we're going to take a few deep breaths together. Inhaling through the nose, lifting the chest and the belly, and exhaling through the mouth. With the sound releasing, grounding and arriving here. Inhaling through the nose, expanding as a balloon, chest and belly, becoming aware, and exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling, chest and stomach, just noticing. Exhaling, releasing. Inhaling through the nose, landing. Exhaling through the mouth, closing all the tabs in your head. Inhaling through the nose to the sit bones. Exhaling, letting the air out. Inhaling through the nose, bringing presence. Expanding. Listening to the silence. Exhaling, letting go the thoughts. Becoming aware of the breath and movement. Inhale. And let go with the shoulders dropping down, release. Observing what is happening in your mind and your body now. Maybe the head is a bit more silent and there is a bit more space to receive and feel the information incoming. I invite us to slowly open our eyes to let the light in, and maybe with a bit more presence, bringing our attention back to the presentation as we will go through the concepts of mindfulness with actually experiencing it, not just talking about it. We will go through the practices that our organization uses and also the benefits that it brings to the green projects. I wanted to start with the definition of mindfulness and green mindfulness because I believe all of us hear a lot about it and definitely notice some definitions, but I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing. So as everyone knows, mindfulness is very broad understanding and broad definition. There are a lot of scholars, there are a lot of spiritual leaders who uses this term. So I wanted to remind how we in our organization and how me as a meditation mindfulness instructor understands it. It might differ from what you have heard before. Therefore, just an outline that I'm one of the mindfulness instructors and this is my perspective. So mindfulness, it is originating from the spiritual practices. Often we see that the people are talking that it comes from Buddhism, from Hinduism, but in general, any spiritual practice has a bit of meditation and mindfulness, maybe just not using the term specifically mindfulness. And it's been used for ages before Christ, by the tribes in Amazon jungle, by the Native American tribes, by pagan traditions, and everywhere where spirituality was a concept. It started to come to the West just in 20th century when spiritual leaders, maybe from India, mainly from India, not just maybe, started to come to the West to share their traditions. And in exchange, people from the West started to travel to the East to gain a bit more knowledge. And there were different leaders. You probably heard about Goenka with Vipassana, mindfulness and meditation. You possibly heard about Osho and Iyengar and other yoga teachers who brought it to the West and shown themselves as the leaders and teachers of mindfulness. However, as we know, Eastern practices and Eastern science is a lot different from the West, and there are no strict definitions and the points, the qualities, what is actually this mindfulness. So the first clear definition appeared just in 1970s by a scientist, professor, Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who brought this term called mindfulness-based stress reduction. And he started the Mindfulness Center in Massachusetts University. And there, the definition finally came to life. Mindfulness was described by him as awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and not judgmentally. So 5 aspects of mindfulness that he described. And you can see John Kabat-Zinn in the picture here. So this was the mindfulness as the main term. The green mindfulness is actually not defined as a specific practice. However, it was parallelly appearing in different communities by different teachers and scholars in the West. The first notices of green mindfulness, as literature shows, can be tracked to the permaculture and eco villages. It's also in the 20th century in the West. You may have heard about different eco villages like the one created in US by Osho, or the one created by Thich Nhat Hanh in France called Plum Village. And even if those villages and eco practices were not specifically called as green mindfulness, they really follow the values of it, like combining the human, the spirit, the body, and the mind as part of bigger ecosystem. I want to mention a few more people who talked and followed this concept of green mindfulness, sometimes called eco mindfulness, and track it to today. So I would outline Thich Nhat Hanh, as I mentioned before, who established Plum Village in France, where they actually lived the values of mindfulness. And he has a concept of mindful eating, mindful walking, apple picking, doing daily chores with this presence of the mind in the body. Another important person to mention is Bill Plotkin. Even if he doesn't mention mindfulness, however, he talks about eco-psychology and a lot of nature-based practices, like he has this term wild mind and nature-based practices, wilderness, where he combines this human as part of natural world and really sees and talks how both aspects interact with each other. Bill Plotkin has this institute called Animas Valley, which has trainings and really dives deeply into nature and mindfulness. Another important person is Joanna Macy. Her term she was an activist in sustainability and ecology, and she created this term deep ecology, where she sees as well as Bill Plotkin human as one molecule of a big picture of ecology. And all her teachings, all her activities are using the values of mindfulness in her work. Now, jumping closer to nowadays, there are, as organizations are in Sweden, I've studied quite a lot of Swedish scholars, and there's a university in Sweden, in Lund, which has a professor, Christine Wamsler. She has been active in the field since around 2000s. However, she really popularized her understanding of green mindfulness and actually the term of green mindfulness in 2010. She even started some years later a Center of Sustainability Studies, where her core goal is to incorporate mindfulness, psychology, and human behavior as part of sustainability science. And actually, just this year in October, they are starting a course, Mindfulness-Based Sustainable Transformation, MBST, where people can get certified to teach green mindfulness. So if you are interested to go deeper in this, an invitation to check it out. That was a bit of a history where I wanted to start with to have the definitions on the table. What is mindfulness and what is green mindfulness? And with that in mind, I would invite us to go further and dive deeper into actually practices, how this theory and how this can be used by us humans living daily life and running our daily projects in the organizations. I wanted to start with the why we started this, with maybe bringing a bit inspiration for other youth workers, other project managers to understand the meaning and the reason behind it. So my personal journey with EU-funded projects, as well as with well-being and meditation practices, started in 2013. And at that point, it was just so interesting, and I was so passionate that I was bringing small meditation and well-being practices into different youth exchanges and training courses, sometimes as participant, sometimes as facilitator. And interestingly, even then, 11 years ago, there was quite a big interest. However, it was not such a huge trend to create projects specifically about mindfulness or green mindfulness. Then going further, more interest appeared, and I went through the organizations which were actually leaders of which were actually interested in going deeper in the topic. And there are two organizations which I'm super proud of. One is called Go Alive in Greece, another Vulcanicamente, whose leaders took the teachings of mindfulness that we were bringing from the East, and they turned their whole concept around well-being and mindfulness practices. And around 2015, these two organizations started slowly applying the projects with my support a little bit. And European Commission, I believe in 2016 or 17, started to accept the idea that well-being and mindfulness should be part of the whole curriculum. And my main why for that was this idea that in formal education and in life, we're feeding our mind so much. Our mind is just overwhelmed with information. However, any successful project, any successful impact organization starts with a human being, with you, with me, feeling well. And to feel well, we cannot just live through this mind and constantly push further and try to understand everything. Therefore, it is important to start every day, every project, and every activity with this reminder that, look, it starts with me being well. Let's take a few minutes to make sure that that you are feeling well. And well-being and mindfulness practices are great tools for ensuring this. And it doesn't matter we're talking about mental health or well-being, or we're talking about sustainability, green impacts, or business. It all starts with us. That is my pushing forward reminder to keep bringing mindfulness practices into any topic, also the green topics. And how do we do it actually in our organization and in our practices? There are so many different ways to do it. I've just outlined 7 main practices, which are easy to incorporate for everyone and can be used by any organization without a big preparation. So first one is the core is actually walking the talk. So in the team, there should be a person, ideally every person, who are passionate about the topic and having their own practices, be it meditation, being breathing exercise, be it some nature-based practice like forest bathing. It has to be done by example, not just a person coming and bringing it to organization or a project, but actually a person practicing it and then bringing it through into the project through role modeling. Second simple thing to include in your project is choosing the venues for activities which are in the nature. It is quite an easy practice in Sweden, possibly in other European countries as well. As being in nature really reminds us the importance and the effect of nature and also our effect as human beings towards the nature, and really reduces these distractions and possibilities to get into the mind and overwhelmed with everything what's happening around. So choosing the venue which is in the nature is a great practice for enhancing green projects. Third, mindful surroundings. As we know, we have an effect on our surroundings. However, our surroundings have a huge effect on the mind as well as on the body and the well-being. Therefore, we try to create minimalistic surroundings with really little things around, little materials, little furniture, not messy things around, but this emptiness and spaciousness around, as well as small notes reminding to become aware about our surroundings, reminding that hey, it's not just about us. We are here in the space which also exists with or without us. So really using the surroundings as much as possible to enhance this sense of awareness and enhance connection to the surroundings and nature. Fourth practice, which I put on, is reducing consumption. So easy way to make to do it is to choose the venue which is away from shops and organize the retreats or trainings or youth exchanges in a place where individuals have to prepare to be without possibility to buy things for 5 or 7 days. And this easily brings the awareness with not much effort, how little we need as human beings. Because at the end, even science shows that a lot of consumption is done because of the cravings of the mind, not actually because we as humans need something. So reducing consumption is a great practice in any projects or mobilities. Continuing further, which is number 5, awareness of language. Language, as we know from neuro-linguistic programming or also the same mindfulness, is very powerful. Whatever we tell ourselves, whatever we tell to our peers and people around us, we believe. So using the language encouraging the connection to nature or connection to oneself and people around us is a very powerful tool. It, of course, requires a bit of training and a lot of awareness for the project managers, for the leaders of organizations. It becoming more aware and using the words that enhance this connection, maybe reminding that we are guests in the place, that rain is not something terrible which destroys our plans, but actually something which feeds us as human beings and the nature. Maybe, well, by not becoming sad or angry about the garbage around, but encouraging this sense of responsibility that it's us as humans are responsible for taking care of what is happening around us. It's a very powerful tool to boost the green practices within organizations. And few more. The sixth one is no intoxicants, which is often evaluated not very positively by young participants. However, it's really appreciated by the ones who want to understand the power of awareness and of clear mind. So in our mobilities as well as projects, we use this no intoxicants invitation in order to be really aware about how we are and not to lose this connection with the nature. And lastly, number 7 is we use mornings and evenings not to necessarily discuss about sustainability and action or the business and organization and follow up, but to come back to ourselves as humans to boost this motivation, to prevent this burnout, and to use some practices for well-being, remembering that, hey, at the end, it's about you and me feeling well. If we do feel well, it's going to be a long-term sustainable impact on anything what we take on. Yeah, that was number 7. And there are, as I mentioned, a lot of more. However, I don't want to load our minds too much with information. And if there will be a chance, we can talk about further ones in future. I listed a few good examples here, organizations of our partners, and where we as practitioners go to charge ourselves with new ideas. And maybe that would be interesting for you as well to check out these specific communities and organizations which are actually using mindfulness in their projects, green or not only green. Yes. I think I would like to invite us to go to the further slide and to the actual topic of this webinar. Before that, there are a few pictures from our projects, what we actually do, how these practices look in reality. Yeah, and I will go directly to this core of our webinar, where while probably many of us are here, how actually these green practices, green mindfulness practices benefit the green projects. Again, I tried to stick with the organized mind and list 7 benefits. There are so many of them, I don't even know where to start. As we stick with 7, I will start with the concept of inner ecology, which has this idea that our inner state has really strong impact on our outer actions. So our emotions, our psychological state, how our body feels, shows out with our actions towards the nature. And whenever we take care of what is happening inside, it is believed that we really take more care of what is happening outside. From mindfulness, there is this concept called peace in, peace out, where it's interrelated. Whenever you feel in peace and mindful inside, you really cannot act otherwise, and you act with this outside. And the same, if you see peace and organization and thriving nature outside, it's really impacting the inner state, this inner ecology. And it flows to the second benefit of practices towards green projects, connection with nature. When we get out of this mind, which is trained for 12, then 5 and more years in schools and universities, we get back to the real state of the human, the body, the heart, the soul, if we believe in that. And it enhances connection with nature because we become more in the present moment and the mind is not jumping around anymore. Third benefit, long-term vision and sustainability itself. As we know, acting just from the mind and just from this sense of action cannot last really long because activists and especially green activists can easily burn out. And when we are acting from passion and from this sense of heart, sense of groundedness and mindfulness, it ensures longer impact and sustainable slow action by firstly taking care of ourselves and then about the surroundings. Fourth, it also flows from the previous one. It's a great tool from burnout prevention because we understand our why and we understand that it starts with us. And this is a beautiful reminder for all the activists to firstly take care of themselves and remember that mindfulness can benefit here. That was the fifth one, consumption awareness. I already mentioned its benefit from as one of the practices that we do. By getting better with our own body and mind, we really don't need to satisfy the cravings by buying things anymore. Then it flows to the sixth benefit, enhanced cooperation. When one is feeling well with himself, the communication and teamwork and connection with other humans becomes a lot more smooth and easy. And lastly, creativity and boosting creativity. That when the mind is turned a little more silent, when we get back to this sense of inner state of heartfulness, of presence, of soulfulness, some sources, some magical sources come out and innovative ideas, not only in business and organization and personal life, but also in how to approach green topics. And with this, I would like to close this webinar about the benefits and move towards the closing of the webinar by just summing up shortly what all these 30 minutes was about. The main message what I want us to deliver is just a reminder that our minds are so tired by constantly being fed with information, and we as humans are not only about the minds. There are aspects of heart, of body, and of soul, of purpose, which have to be engaged in order to reach a sustainable long-term impact. How to do it? There are so many different ways. At the end, all of us are seeking the same goal to make this world a better place to live. And if you feel that mindfulness can be one of the tools to get out of this mind and engage other aspects to ensure sustainability, I would really invite you to check our organization and the practices that we offer. which you can find on the project website, which Mladen shared or will share. So I am done with the presentation. I can open up once again the links and the invitations where to learn more about the topics discussed. And in the meanwhile, I would be glad to answer questions for upcoming 5 or 10 minutes if there are any. If I could ask Mladen to help me with the chat to
Hmm.
moderate if there are any questions.
Yeah. I also shared the website and link tree with social media of the project, so the people can research more. And yeah, it would be nice. I mean, anyway, we will add the presentation to the website and the part with webinars. Maybe, yeah, you can add those links here to the chat, those
Uh,
resources from the last slide. It would be nice.
yes, I surely can. Let me see. Do you see my screen?
Yes. And please check if somebody is waiting, maybe in the waiting room.
No. So I can share the links, but also if someone will request, I can share the presentation as well. Someone would need it. Yeah, and as there are, well, as there are no more questions.
Yeah, I have one question. I mean, yeah, regarding the project venue for
Mhm.
youth exchanges, courses, and so. Yeah, also from my experience, I at the beginning, like when I was starting, I was more into, let's say, city locations because of all the possibilities, opportunities to go out and so. But now I can say that I'm more into uh, in the middle of nowhere places, or just the places where we can be surrounded by us and by nature itself, because we can dedicate, I mean, we definitely dedicate all the time to ourselves, and the focus is not spreading, all over the city, for example. I don't know about your experience. Can you share from, because you're more experienced than me, definitely. So just to confirm or to say your point of view.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, one of our practices as a Positive Youth and Wellbeing Lab to enhance this mindfulness and to also boost the power of green projects is to choose the venues in the nature. Um, as you mentioned, it helps a lot for individuals who maybe don't want to go to nature just by themselves to remind like how being surrounded by trees and greeniness and being away from the city, how powerful and impactful it is. It is often that people don't want to go to the nature by themselves or to leave the city where they don't have good Wi-Fi, they don't have access instantly to the shops, they cannot commute by public transport or a taxi. It is a little bit out of the comfort zone as until you actually get out of this comfort zone and you understand how comfortable it is to be surrounded by greenness and the nature. And also many team members of organizations who are organizing green projects love the nature. So it's a great reward to be there. That is a sure yes and a sure invitation to all project organizers in this sector. to choose the venues in the nature whenever possible.
Yeah, can't agree more. And even if the project itself is not about eco and green stuff, definitely it will be beneficial for the project itself. From my perspective, from my point of view.
All right.
Hi.
Hi, Leah.
So I don't have any questions about the presentation, but I just wanted to thank you guys for your time, and for sharing your experience. It was really interesting.
I'm glad to hear, Leah, and thank you for your attention and your time. Time is precious. And remember to take a few
Thank you.
breaths tonight to really connect with yourself and maybe get some insights how to make your projects more mindful and impactful.
I will. Thank you.
All right. So we can close the webinar. Thank you for your time.